welcome to the Nurburgring 24-hour qualifying race 2019. So this is a 6-hour race, which is effectively a dress rehearsal for the 24-hour race. So all the big teams are there. There's 30 plus GT3 entries in the grid. So yeah, we were there with our complete 24-hour lineup so that we could run through all the drivers, make sure everyone's comfortable with everything before we then get to the big weekend. So to start the weekend off, we had a top 30 shootout, again mimicking the same formats that you would see in the 24-hour weekend. So you have to qualify into the top 30, and then the top 30 have a clear run, open circuit to then qualify the grid. However, that was a wet morning, and with Christian Krones nominated to do the top 30 shootout qualifying, he was in. And after our wet weather performance at VLN3, we knew that we weren't going to be very competitive, and I think we qualified 26th out of the top 30 runners, so unfortunately not a very competitive showing. However, the circuit was drying, and we actually made the gamble to start on cut slicks as opposed to a lot of the field ahead of us, which were running wets, as we knew that we had very little to lose running or starting the race at the back of the top 30. However, this proved to be a good decision, as on the warm-up lap, quite a few cars pulled into the pits to change their wets to slick tyres. So us and the Falcon Tyres BMW were both on slicks here. You can see the guys taking it very cautiously through the first chicane on the first lap with very little grip. And here, again, you can see how close the cutoff was as the Ferrari overtakes us in wet as we come down the foxhole, normally the slowest part of the track to dry. Christian has a big twitch of oversteer there, which could have been a very short race. However, half a lap later, coming towards Stelstrecker and the carousel, the slick tyres are now the tyres to be on. And then coming into Brunschen, you can see the Merc is just four-wheel drifting on its overheating wet tyres already, and the Phoenix Audi is also on cut slicks as well. And Christian was able to make mincemeat of the cars in the second half of the first lap. However, this is the end of the first lap, and you can see how far ahead the front runners are, and I think we're joining the Dottinger at the very back of the shot there, and it shows the time difference behind. However, Christian with his slick tyres, the track was only ever going to come to him, so he was able to pick off numerous GT3 cars in very quick succession with some awesome, aggressive but always safe driving, which is what Christian is completely known for. He's a super smooth, aggressive but always safe hands driver. Here again you can see the wet tyres on the Rover racing car squirming around. We were able to squeeze past the Manthey Porsche as well, and then past the leading R8 at the beginning of the second lap anyways, and you can see the difference on the onboard here from our car, and then how quickly we are able to then escape as we are on our slick tyres versus the wet tyres. So the gamble paid off fantastically, and we were back in the game. So in contrast to the previous lap, we are now ahead of the leader as much as the leader was ahead of us, and that's a mere 8 minutes difference, which really shows the difference between the slick tyres and the wet tyres. At the end of lap 3, however, our cut slicks were overheating, so we had come in and put a full dry tyre on. This put us back in the pack, but again, some more awesome driving from Christian. He was able to thread his way through the pack and keep us in contention with the leading group. So we were still battling to the front of the field here, which was brilliant. So we're all feeling hopeful at this point, and this was an epic piece of racing by both drivers here, and trust me, all of Volkenhorst were completely on the edge of their seats here.
So it would have been that was a purely a normal race. There's a lot of intakes of breath here. The Volkenhorst BMW there getting fairly lively, wasn't it, with the Phoenix Audi?
It was Marcel Fessler getting side by side with the dark blue Volkenhorst BMW, and sitting right in behind there is the Rover racing car.
To work for them, makes it look different, and so he takes the lead of the race. Nick Yellerly is on his, what has he done? That's so 7 laps, 8 laps into the stint, he'll be out for another lap. So actually, he is even better placed than the Manthey Porsche is, because he was together.
So if you notice the time in the top right hand side here, you can see that we've actually jumped a considerable way into the race now. We're almost halfway through the 6-hour qualification race, and I think we were flying below the radar really, just going about our business, being out of sync on the pit stops. But then when it came to it, when everything started to shuffle its way out, we were actually running very competitively in the top 3, which was awesome to see. So Christian would then hand over to Nick Yellerly, a BMW factory driver, who is only his 2nd race in a GT3 car around the Nurburgring. So he was trying to get as much practice as he could on the Yokohama tyre, which is his first time driving the Yokohama tyre, at the Nordschleife, ready for the 24 hours. And here he is giving Fred Makovici in the Manthey Porsche a really hard time during his stint, which was great to see, and it showed how competitive the package we had underneath us was.
Has enough fuel to go to 27 laps, so a further 4 laps of fuel aboard the BMW, although maybe they just drive around side by side, John.
Well, you know, that's...
It's been a long weekend for them this weekend, and an early start this morning. They started qualifying at 8 o'clock this morning, local battle. This is I was talking twaddle when I suggested that Nick Yellerly was just biding his time.
No, he's there, isn't he?
He's driving the wheels off that BMW.
And then with 2 hours remaining, it was showtime for me.
So with an hour and 10 minutes to go, you're then looking forwards.
In comes the leader, Nick Yellerly, also the Schnitzer BMW, number 42, Timo Scheider in the pits. We have 2 hours to go, and it's an important...
And this was the situation as we went into 2 hours left to go. That 2.5 minute lead would then shrink, and I would drop in behind the Rover Racing car after the pit stops played out.
David Pittard is has now completed it, or is on the way to complete his outlap, and I reckon he should be, well, he wants to be around 50 seconds at most behind. So Nick Yellerly did a very good stint, had an extra 2 laps out there, was closing the gap. If he's down to anything under a minute is going to be good. If it's less than 50 seconds, then puts the Valkenhorst team in a very strong position indeed for that final pit stop that you were describing, John. 1 more pit stop to go. The problem is going to be for the number 1 Manthey Porsche. They're not going to be able to get away with 1 more pit stop. They're going to need an extra one, I think.
In your humble opinion, Paul, and your opinion is...
I'll guess.
All right. Correct. So there's the change of lead with David Pittard going through in the blue BMW, the 101 car. De Filippi...
Except for the fact that Conor De Filippi had this 1:30 penalty.
So there was the target, as mentioned by Paul Trustwell in the Radio Le Mans commentary. Anything around 50 seconds behind the Rover Racing car going into the final pit stop, because we were off sync with everyone, meant that we were going to be in for a shot. So with clear track ahead of me and new boots on, I pushed on as hard as I could to make sure we were as close as we could be for the final pit stop. So with stint complete, pitting from P1, which was really, really cool, a beat before the pit stops had all played out. However, I had managed to close the gap, but it was still pretty touch and go whether we were going to come out ahead of the Rover Racing BMW for the race lead, or if we would have to go and get it from the Rover Racing car. Either way, I jumped out and Christian jumped back in to bring the car home for the end of the race.
Hasn't made his pit stop yet, has he? So Pittard in now.
Correct.
In the leading car, and he is out of the car, and so that must be Christian Cronjes getting in.
And a good look under the left rear. There's been a little bit of side-to-side contact there. I think we saw that early on, didn't we, coming through the tear guard. It's down off its jacks now, and it's going to be passed. It's passed right now. He's not even the pit exit. That's nowhere near as close as I thought it would be.
It's not. No, it's the gap first to second, 8.7 seconds. I said it was going to be 15. It's come down to 8.7. So Christian Cronjes, he can smell this one. It's the battle of the 2Ks. Jesse Krohn against Christian Cronjes.
So that was the gap, 8 seconds I came short of being able to jump the Rover car. However, the pace that the Volkenhorst car had that day meant that in 2 laps Christian was already back on the back of Jesse Krohn and giving him a hard time through the Grand Prix section.
It's come together. It wasn't even the 4 seconds. The side by side of the Grand Prix circuit and the Volkenhorst car, the dark blue machine, looking to the left, then to the right. Under 20 minutes to go. And did my eyes deceive me? Or is that boot, that bonnet lid on the right-hand side just starting to move again and show a little bit more of a gap than it was? And here is the chance again into the first part of the lap. They're almost overlapping. They are overlapping. The Volkenhorst car is alongside. It's got the nose ahead, but there's traffic. It's gone through. It's gone through in the kink going down the hill, and the lead has changed. Came from a long way back.
All of that with Dan Christian Conyers driving in the early stages.
Very impressed with David Pittard's stint as well. Kept the pressure up.
Yes, and Nick Yellerly as well. I mean,
Ordinance get in that car.
Yes, Nick Yellerly. I was talking about
Yellerly did.
Nick Yellerly.
Did Ordinance.
He did the middle. I say the middle stint. He did the first part of the middle stint and was putting in some pretty impressive lap times, didn't Nick? So I think between the 3 of them, they could all hold their heads up high.
So coming to the line, Paul. Here is Christian Conyers, ably backed up by David Pittard and Nick Yellerly. Cross the line.
Amazing feeling. Everything I do, this team does, is for this moment here. So.
Let's go, guys. Come on! Yes!
On this English language feed, Michael and the rest of the guys, thank you very much indeed for all your hard work. Rob was our executive producer in London for this event. Some final thoughts for you, Paul, as the champagne is about to be popped.
Oh, they're right up my nose.
There we go, we did it. The Volkenhorst team won the Nurburgring 24-hour qualification race. Biggest win in my career, and it was brilliant to have a BMW 1-2-3 lockout, so sharing the podium with all BMW drivers as well. Yeah, amazing setup for the big one. However, 24 hours is 4 times longer than 6. And yeah, there's so much more that could happen in those 24 hours. So yeah, make sure you tune into that vlog when it comes together. But super psyched, so happy. And yeah, can't wait for one month's time before we get a shot at the big one. If you like this video, please like it. And if you want to see more content like this, please make sure you subscribe. Ciao, ciao.